Dukies didn't follow up their win against Carolina, did they?
No, they
Smashed my man.
I saw that.
I tried not to.
It's okay. Purdue lost against IU last night, 2 nights ago.
Yeah.
Oh, they did?
Yeah. We're still number 1, but we'll see.
They just have to win the ones that can.
Look who made it.
Okay, the February 2023 Town of Bowling Springs Council meeting is called to order. Welcome, everybody. First item up for business is adoption of the agenda. If anyone has suggestions for amendments, or if there is a motion to accept it as it is.
I move the agenda be adopted.
All right. Mr. Green with the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Ms. Gant. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise? All right, and the agenda is adopted. Are there any citizens present that would like to speak on any item that is not on the agenda? Please come on up and state your name.
My name is Fred DeBell. 2 weeks ago, after the hit and run, there was a large conversation on Facebook on a Cleveland County news page talking about the traffic conditions, really the speeding in town and situation. And I know that there are some measures being taken. Somebody stated, and it's purely conjecture, that a friend of a friend type of situation who knew a Boiling Springs police officer said they don't ticket people because they don't go to court. Don't know if it's true or not. I can't make a judgment call on that, but I think it's something that needs to be talked about, discussed, and, we need to know as citizens what action is being taken. I will say that there's a lot of speeding on, I think we all know. Unfortunately, the woman who did get hit and killed, she didn't cross on a crosswalk, so she has some culpability from that situation. But myself, walking in town almost every morning, or quite a few mornings a week, I see how fast people go, and I see how they don't pay attention to other cars and other vehicles. Just driving through town, people are always on your bumper trying to get past you so they can get out of town quicker. I think that is really an issue, especially with what we're doing in the city, the master plan a couple years ago, and then the plan I read about today about the parks and everything. So I think it's something that should be addressed to the citizens. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else that would like to speak on that's not on the agenda? All right, the next item up for business is adoption of the minutes. Council, you have the minutes before you. Is there a motion to adopt the minutes from last meeting?
I'll motion to adopt the minutes as presented.
Okay, Mr. Edwards, with that motion, is there a second?
Second.
Second for Ms. Gant. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise. All right. Minutes are adopted. Mr. Evans, Garden Webb University update.
Good evening, everyone. Excited to be here again. A couple events, things like that I want to make everybody aware of. Hoops Coming is this weekend. We always say if you can get back to campus as an alum, one time a year you come to homecoming. If you can get back for 2, you come to homecoming and hoops coming. Think basketball flavored homecoming if you're not aware. Invite everybody from the town to join us. Currently, it's a pretty interesting fact for you, just in case you're on Jeopardy. Currently, men's and women's basketball, their combined win streak is #1 in the country. So there's no Duke, there's no Chapel Hill, there's none of that. Not in there. It's Gardner Webb right at the top on that. So pretty impressive there for us. Women are actually undefeated in conference play. 2 of their players are ranked in the top 5 in the country, 1 for steals and 1 for double-doubles. So there's all kinds of projections and things starting to come out for March Madness that make us all excited. But stay tuned. I'm sure we're going to upset some folks. Following that, next weekend, so the 18th, we have Legacy and Legends. This year we don't have a doubleheader in our schedule, and usually we book hoops coming on that doubleheader for men's and women's. So the 18th is kind of, it's hoops coming, but not the same. It's got a completely different schedule of events, but it is based around basketball and hoops coming, if you will, or homecoming, if you will. We had our first pitch event for baseball. They will have the first game opening day here on February 17th. Might be a little chilly, but we do have heaters installed blowing down into the stadium, so it's a good opportunity to come out and enjoy America's favorite pastime. At the first pitch event that we just had, we had more than 340 folks in attendance, including keynote speaker Sean Casey. For any baseball fans out there, you know who he is. If not, he's a 4-time MLB All-Star. He's told his story from his journey from youth baseball all the way through the major leagues. MLB Network analyst now. So really neat opportunity right here in Bowling Springs to have somebody like that here. Worst part of the whole thing, I had to follow him in the whole speaking order, so that was awful. Last couple things, Angie K is her stage name. She is performing a concert this Friday at Tucker Student Center at 7:30. She was on season 10 of The Voice, featured in Rolling Stones magazine, and also known for, she's the voice of the fireworks show at Disney, if anybody's ever been down there. Adults $10, $5 for children. And then the last thing I have is a little bit of a capital update. There are sewer lines now installed for the amphitheater, so pretty soon you'll start seeing some things on top of the dirt. So any questions for me, anything I can answer? All right.
I'll get with you about some of those events. Maybe we'll put out a call to let people know about traffic or something for who's
Fantastic.
coming or Angie.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
All right, we have some new employees to be introduced. Justin?
Thank you, sir. We have had a number of new folks start with us in the last few weeks. And maybe going back a little bit further than that, I think maybe Zach is the oldest, newest employee. But we have a couple of them here tonight, so just wanted to get them in front of you and just give a quick introduction. I told them they each have about 10 minutes to speak and give us a little overview of their background and everything. No, I'm just kidding. No, not at all.
Just give us 15.
Yeah. So first, I'll just go in order here. We've got Tracy Holland. She's our new program support specialist. Tracy, if you want to stand up and wave.
And I can talk for 15 to 20.
We'll get back to you.
We've got Drew Allen. He's our new equipment operator.
Drew?
I don't think Jeff Thompson made it here tonight, but he is our new wastewater collection maintenance technician. And then we've got Zach Mays, who's our general maintenance worker. So we'll work on updating the employee directory, so you all have a face to put with the name in the directory. And we are still recruiting for one general maintenance worker position. We've gotten a few applications, and we had a job fair today that we went to that was a local government job fair hosted at the LeGrand Center. So we hope to be fully staffed shortly.
Welcome to the team, y'all. All right, moving on to regular business. The first item up is the land use plan update. Several options here with the different bids and proposals. Justin, wanna?
Yes, sir. I'll tee it up for you.
Yeah.
So the planning board had a good discussion a few weeks ago at their meeting about these proposals, and I know I've talked to a couple of you all about it. The proposals are all great firms and good proposals. They're all capable of doing the work. The ultimate recommendation from the planning board was to go with Colgan S. Stone to complete the land use plan update. We also reached out to the firms about adding on a Parks and Rec master plan as part of that process. The idea being if we're going to have community members in the room, we might as well have one station for land use update and one station for Parks master planning, and so they can kind of coincide and come together. My idea would be to have two separate plans, though, at the end so that we don't have any, kind of overlap or confusion or anything with those. Colgan Eston Stone is able to do that Parks and Rec plan. We don't have a formal proposal from them for that. We just have a previous plan that they've done to kind of showcase that work, but the planning board talked about that as well, and they thought they were capable of handling that. So the staff recommendation would be to proceed with Colgan Eston Stone to complete our land use plan update, and then we'll work with them to get an actual proposal for the rec plan update, and we'll bring that all back next month for a budget amendment to move some ARPA funds around and then approve the formal contract. But happy to answer any questions about those different firms or proposals. I know the packet was a little lengthy because of all those, but I wanted y'all to be able to look at all their past experience and everything.
Questions or comments from council?
I thought planning and zoning had a very good discussion. I do appreciate that being filmed, so I could go back and watch it because I had a conflict that same evening and couldn't attend. But they had a healthy discussion, and I think they made a good recommendation.
I echo that. I did watch it and I appreciated the opportunity to do that. So, and they did have a very, very involved and good discussion about it. So I move we proceed with Colgan Eston Stone for our land use plan update.
All right, there's a motion on the table to proceed with Colgan Eston Stone from Mr. Green. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Mr. Litton. Any further discussion or questions on the issue?
Just one
Go ahead.
clarification. So you all do want us to go to them and come back with a proposal for a Parks master plan as well with that?
Yes.
Okay.
That was my assumption.
Okay. Just want to make sure.
All right, if no further discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise, and that is unanimous. Next item is the 2023 street resurfacing project. And also to consider the Michon paving project. So we have a couple of items here. To accept the project bid from James Parker Construction for the summary list. Justin, what am I leaving out?
The resurfacing project's pretty straightforward. We budgeted $278,500 for that. The lowest bid was $228,714.75. So they're coming in under budget for the street resurfacing, and there's a list there of all the streets. I know the Wichita Drive has been the main, or the worst one, so that one is obviously at the top of the list, and then those other ones are on there as well. That's pretty straightforward. You can consider that one first, and then we can talk about Michon if you want to do it that way, or I can go right into Michon either way.
So that's the order they'll be paved, or you just going to do Wichita first and then?
I think the order will be left up to the contractor. That's the order, I think, in the ranking of how they needed to be
Okay.
basically considered. And so we bid all of those out not knowing what the price was going to come back at, and then we would have kind of cut them from the bottom to make them fit within budget, but they all came in within budget, so.
Okay, good, thank you.
And we have plenty of contingency built in, it seems like, if they find unexpected additional repairs.
Yes, sir.
I know last summer they found less and were able to use more, which is good, more surface paving.
So we can consider the motion to accept the project bid from James Parker Construction first before we move to the Michon project. Any other discussion or questions from council?
I'll move that we accept the project bid from James Parker Construction for the 2023 street resurfacing project.
All right, Mr. Edwards, with that motion, is there a second?
I second.
Second from Ms. Gant. Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise, and that is unanimous. Now moving on to the Michon paving project decision. Mr. Longinello, I'll let you.
Thank you, sir. So we talked a while back about paving Michon. That's the street that we own between the church on South Main and the KFC Taco Bell. We haven't maintained that street for quite a while, so it's whatever less than a gravel road would be considered. So we bid that project out at the same time as the street resurfacing project because the owner of Magnolia Mill is looking to build a permanent home for her business on Michon. She purchased the 2 parcels behind the KFC Taco Bell there. So we wanted to see what it would cost us to actually pave that road. Our standard specifications and construction details dictate that we have to have it paved, have to have curb and gutter, and have to have a sidewalk there. So we bid it out with those items. We would also plan to run a water line down Michon that could serve that building, but also any future parcels that kind of opened up at the end of Michon. There are a few back there that are sort of landlocked. Some are accessible via Oak, but then some are kind of landlocked back there. Then the bids came back in at $300,000, which is a little bit higher than we were expecting. So I wanted to get some feedback from you all on your thoughts on moving forward. That's sort of the recommendation for tabling it so that we can look a little bit more into it. Miss Jones is still planning to build her business back there. We've been meeting and discussing the requirements for the facade and the exterior of the building. But I wanted the opportunity to get some feedback from you all and then explore some other options of what we want to do. If we want to pave that road and make it a public road and hopefully open up some additional area for development in the future, we can look at how we can make that happen. If we want to just leave it for Miss Jones, I can look into how we can turn that right of way over to her. She could build a driveway for her business, and then it would be hers from here on out. Those are kind of our 2 options, but didn't know where we stood in terms of wanting to do that.
Okay, I guess I probably should have drove back there to see, but are there any other property owners or buildings on this long drive, or?
No, there's no buildings, and the church that's there owns the majority of the parcels.
Okay.
That would be there. We actually have right-of-way. You would go down, there's another road that we have right-of-way for, and it connects over to, help me out, what's that road over there? That one house on it. Billy, you can jump in.
Street that goes down below, between the Kentucky Fried Chicken and the church.
Yeah, and then there's one house on the next street down, and it's
Just a-
Chestnut. Yes, sir, thank you. So we actually have right-of-way that goes down Michon, over Maple, and then comes up Chestnut, but it's all,
And we don't have a whole lot of utility development back there yet either.
So no water
This is-
lines run?
There's no potential for future development or interest from outside developers, maybe? Where I'm going with this is I'm afraid to put $300,000 into a public street.
Yeah.
For one business. I'm glad that they want to build back there, but I want to curb, pun intended, the perception that we're spending $300,000 for one business, right?
And I haven't been back there
What's-
either. What's the, how much area are we talking about for potential for other businesses?
there's 3 parcels, I think, that would connect to this street.
3?
And then that additional right-of-way could potentially open up other parcels, but, Maple Street, we have the right-of-way for, is wooded right now, so it wouldn't be, it would be an even more major project and would be something further down the road.
If we were to do it, I would propose that we postpone it until we know, one, when her building's gonna be done, because I don't think you want construction traffic on our new street, or conflicting with her construction. And 2, I would propose we potentially consider developing it with additional utilities as an attraction for other developers before we put the road in. One of my biggest pet peeves is building a new road and then we put a new trench right across it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
How many bids
It
did
just
we
seems out
get?
of order.
We got, I think 4.
We have one here.
The highest one was $499,000, so we got 4, lowest was $304, highest was $499. I mean, out of the bids, we got a good deal on the actual project, but in terms of what our budget is, that's a lot of money.
I just don't think it's the right timing for us. There's a lot of unknowns. If we could have additional inputs from potential other developers, that would help with the discussion, I think. But, and I'm not opposed to, if there's no interest in the immediate future, you know, it's up to the rest of the council, obviously, too, but relinquishing it to a private drive, and she can make it a nice stone drive or chip and seal, whatever she wants to do.
Is she aware that that might be the case?
She is. I met with her yesterday, and I said that we'd love to pave it, but $300,000 was a lot of money, and so we might explore the possibility of relinquishing it to her so that she could have a driveway there to access her lot still.
So there's no access from Oak?
No, sir.
So she's going to proceed whether we do.
Yes, ma'am. She's getting closer to moving forward. She's supposed to be meeting with an engineer this week to go over some of the details, and she's actually looking at a prefab building, so the construction wouldn't be too terrible. But she's got to get some of the exterior stuff worked out and things like that. So
She does have a good bit of foot traffic, but a lot of her businesses, she sells through the internet a lot, so.
So I can. Go ahead. I'm
I
sorry.
was just going to say, I agree, I concur with Councilman Edwards that it's a lot of money, and even if there is potential for other development, then we could say that we might be willing to do that once the developer is identified and expressed an interest, rather than investing $300,000 for possibly one business.
Are you looking for a motion then?
I think that's good. I can explore our other options and then look into how we would potentially revert that over to her, and so then we can talk about those two options in the future.
Okay. All right, last item is quarterly financial statements from the second quarter. No action required, but if there are any questions or comments, I will not answer them, but Justin Rhonda will.
I have one question, though. Profit loss on sale of assets, is that mainly coming from the vehicles that we're selling as we get into the lease process? And how far along are we in that?
Rhonda, you want to answer the first question?
Yes, it is mostly from that.
We are not quite halfway. So we've gotten one police vehicle. We had originally asked for, I think, Ford pickup trucks for the Public Works Department. Those are at least 6 or 8 months further out. We were able to get some Dodge pickup trucks that should be here within the next month or so. At that point, we'll be about halfway. I think we've got another police vehicle that should be here soon as well. So the ones that are urgent need should be replaced soon, and then we'll look at continuing to replace the older vehicles as we keep moving forward.
Does Enterprise have a target end date of when we'll be done with the transition?
They do, but I don't know that off the top of my head. I've got a spreadsheet with all of it laid out in there.
I know they've
But
been
yeah.
battling some of the overall macro economics of auto world right now.
Yeah.
I am seeing signs that the fleet industry is coming back, so that's a good sign for us. But
Any other questions or comments? All right, very good. Mr. Longino.
All right. I'm going to try to keep it short, but I got quite a few. So we've got a retreat coming up on March 18th. So go ahead and be thinking about different retreat topics that you all might want to discuss, and please give me a call, shoot me an email, let me know about those. This will be a discussion about the goals and ideas to help us prepare for the budget retreats that'll be after that. So anything that's conceptual or big idea is all okay. We'll put it all together and talk all about it and work through all of that. So let me know as those come up, and I'll keep reminding you. Had a great meeting yesterday with the district, the NCDOT district office, and then actually had another meeting this afternoon with the regional transportation folks. So I got lots of transportation updates. The intersection conflict system at Hillcrest and East College, we've tried several different ways to get that cost down. The end cost is going to be somewhere between $25,000 and $30,000 if we want to do it with lights at Hillcrest and lights on East College and it detecting vehicles. The other option we have is to put a flashing beacon on East College at the intersection ahead sign. So before people come over the hill, there could be a sign there that flashes that lets people know that there's an intersection ahead. The thought being that gets their attention, they slow down. We're also, we've also gotten approved from DOT a radar sign to go further up the road, not far past the American on the north side of the street as you come into town. So my thinking is you'd kind of come over that hill, you'd hit the radar sign, you'd go a little bit further up, you'd see the flashing beacon that says intersection ahead, and that would hopefully slow a lot of the people down as they approach Hillcrest. The flashing beacon would be about $1,500, and I think we might get NCDOT to help us out with that. That seems like the way to go if we're okay with that. 20 to 30,000 seems like a lot for that full system. So, if y'all want me to move forward with that, I can go ahead and do that, or we can keep discussing it. But take a head nod or some comment.
We don't have anything now, so I think something would, if we did something, we could see if it helped.
Yeah, and we can do that, and then, as the problem persists, we can revisit it with DOT and see if they'll eventually, take the beacon down and do the full system there too. So I think it's a good sort of first step. But
That the redoing of 150 from here to Lafayette is still on the project list.
It is. I got an update about that coming up. You got to wait for that.
All right, go ahead. But I just think, maybe this would help, and then hopefully when that takes place, or if and when that takes place, then that would they'd address that situation.
Yeah.
Then.
That would be one of the intersections that they would look at.
It definitely would.
Did that intersection get a turning lane?
I forgot. I'd have to go back and look at the plan.
I think that's what's in the plan.
I think so. I think every intersection, just about, between the stoplight and South Lafayette Street would be reworked.
Yeah, they would modernize, as they call it.
That's what they say.
It would look at sort of increasing the width of the road, and then it would look at intersections to try to realign them or put in turning lanes where needed.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree with both councilmen down there is, right baby step, flashing light and radar, and hopefully we have some statistics of the current situation, and we can compare notes after that goes in and see if there's any change or if we are in the right direction, so.
All right.
I have my own plan.
I think we would.
Avoid it.
I would be voicing our concern about them widening the street.
I do.
If we have a speed
honestly do.
issue,
Avoid it.
wider streets tend to lead to increased speed, so
Very true.
I don't know if we have the opportunity to voice our concern about that, but if it's early enough in the design stage, we could definitely provide that to the state engineer of record that, hey, we got some speed problems here, so.
Yeah, that modernization would be quite a ways out. It's still
It would.
very early,
Yeah, multiple
so
years, sure.
Yeah, we'd have time to address that. So I'll go right into that. East College from the stoplight to Lafayette Street is slated to be repaved, resurfaced within the next year to maybe 18 months. We're going to still get out there and be reporting some of those potholes that are there because that'll still be a while to deal with those. But that'll get resurfaced, and then the actual modernization of it is going through the planning process, and that's, much longer term. So we'll be looking at that. They're also looking at a different pot of funds to try and keep it simple for the intersection at East College and Patrick. That would be looked at during the modernization study, but there's a different pot of funds that they could potentially use for a signal there or for something else that might be a better improvement. I told them to also look at the other end of Patrick Avenue where Flint Hill is. We had some discussions about that at actually both of those meetings, so they're going to analyze it from a crash data perspective and also see about putting, whether it be a four-way stop or, signalized or a bigger project where it's a roundabout or something like that. So those intersections will be looked at. Patrick, Flint Hill, Hillcrest. Let's see, the rumble strips that were talked about before I got here on Patrick Avenue in the curve are still on the books to be done. They actually have several areas where they're going to put those in, and they're trying to get one sort of big package together so they can bid that out to a contractor. But basically, if you've ever run off the road a little bit on the highway and had that brrrr noise, this would be on the center line in that curve right past our pump station on Patrick Avenue, where it gets kind of tight with both cars coming into each other. So they did put in a guardrail there not too long ago, but hopefully those rumble strips will get in there soon and help as well. I did also ask DOT about a crosswalk at Hamrick's Insurance and the Mulberry Bush. I talked to both of those business owners separately about putting something there. Their concern is the amount of driveways that are there. There's not really a safe place to put it where it's not right next to where a car would be turning out. They also didn't want to put a crosswalk that was so close to the stoplight crosswalk and have too many stops that would cause issues with traffic. So that corridor is still something that's on the docket in our downtown master plan for the North Main Street improvements that would really transform all of that. But in the interim, they're not going to put a crosswalk there. The recommendation would be to go up to the crosswalk at O'Reilly's or go down to the traffic light and cross safely there. We are also working on the elusive wayfinding signs that we've been talking about for a while. So we finally have secured all of the parts and pieces for the wayfinding signs, and the last thing I need to do is to show DOT the breakaway base that we're going to use for those signs to make sure that's in compliance, and we should have those ready to be installed. So I would look for those within the next 30 to 60 days. They have to approve the content, I think, too, but I think we're pretty much good to go on that. We checked this afternoon, and the speed limit from Flint Hill Church down to Patrick Avenue hasn't been changed yet from DOT, but that should be forthcoming within the next couple of weeks. We're also going to look at the speed limit from Patrick Avenue on Flint Hill up to Main Street. I think that's a 45-mile-an-hour zone, and we were going to look at decreasing that down to 35 as well, so you may see that next month on our approval to send to DOT to request them to lower that speed limit there as well. And that may also do a little bit of good for that intersection there at Flint Hill and Patrick. All right. So I mentioned a little bit about the crosswalk on North Main Street, sort of indirectly to address Mr. DeBell's comments to more directly address those. I would say that's not true. Something that we put out to the Bowling Springs Police Department, just so we're clear on that. They do write tickets, and they do go to court. So that's not something we discourage. Absolutely not. We have submitted previously for a RAISE grant that would pay for the South Main Street scape, and then also look at some improvements on North Main Street. Last year when we applied for it, we put in that project, the crosswalk that we ended up putting in on North Main Street. So this go around, we still want to include that corridor because it's an unsafe corridor, and we're going to apply for some additional lighting to go in there. We already have pretty much as much lighting as we can put on the Duke power poles that are along in there, but having some sort of decorative lighting that's lower down on the street and makes things more visible will be a small step that we'll take. But again, we've also increased enforcement in that area to try and deter speeders. It's a constant problem if you're running radar in one area, they're speeding in the other area, and you're constantly moving around. We did get a device this past budget year that allows us to track vehicles when they go through an area and see when people are speeding the most. So that's something that we've been trying to use to kind of target speeding in certain areas. But yeah, Chief, I don't know if you want to add anything to that. Okay, but yeah, we've been working to address it, absolutely. So sticking with vehicles, our EV chargers have shipped, so they should be here soon. They went ahead and had me set up the account, and we've had 0 cars charged so far. Because they're not here, but but it's actually kind of neat. You can see how many people have plugged in, and how much their usage has been. And so next month we'll be discussing what we want that price structure to look like. We can set the rate per kilowatt hour. We can set the idle fees. I thought this was interesting. So you can set the idle fee if you stay plugged in past your car being fully charged. You can charge like $5 an hour, or you can charge $10 an hour. And I was like, well, how high will it let me go? And you can enter as much as you want. So that was interesting, but that'll be something that we'll need to talk about next month to see how you all want to handle that pricing structure. But they should be here soon.
Did we decide where those were going yet? I can't remember.
They're going behind the Greenway office, the old museum there in that downtown
Gotcha.
parking lot.
Okay.
So there's 2 stations, it'll be 4 spots, and they'll be right there. Roosters update. So met with the owner of that property, I guess 3 weeks ago now, and they were finalizing plans for the bond beam to go on there, so they can continue to rebuild the wall. Their engineer called me, I think it was last week, and was asking some questions about the facade improvements and everything like that. So things continue to move forward, and every 30 days I have a calendar reminder to call him and have him come by and give me an update or give me a call. And I would expect to see movement on that pretty soon as well. It sounds like pretty much everything's finalized from the engineer's standpoint, and he's had his contractor ready to go. So we've just been kind of waiting on her. We are working on forming a town and gown advisory committee. I mentioned this a while back after a conference I attended that other towns have put together committees like this. It's something that involves, of course, the town and the university, but also community members, business owners, and then sort of regional stakeholders. So have had some conversations with some folks at Gardner-Webb about that, and I've had some conversations with folks in the community, and so I want to start putting that together. So if there's anybody that you think would be interested in serving on a committee like that, please let me know. The purpose is basically to get everybody together and talk about problems or productive things that affect us all. So obviously we would talk about downtown businesses and what we want to see come into the town. Topic of discussion would be the great new amphitheater that Gardner-Webb's putting in, street festivals, those kind of things. So just really kind of getting everybody all in one room to talk about different things. We got 2 grant awards last week. I'm not going to steal Mr. Edwards' thunder because I know he's going to talk about one of them, but the other one was a grant that Mr. Sontag applied for through the North Carolina League of Municipalities. That's going to get us some new equipment in our gym, and that's 100% paying for that equipment. So I don't think he's ordered it yet, but it'll be ordered in here soon, and we might have some extra weights or something we're selling to move out of there to get things updated. But I'm excited about that and excited about the other one. And I think the last thing I have is that I talked to a local landscape architect, Mr. Dennis Terry, and he is going to donate his time to help us come up with a design for a memorial for Jerry at the park. Mayor Thomas had talked to Jerry's granddaughter, and we kind of pitched the idea of a sign that would name the park after him with a large flower bed around that as you kind of come into the park. So Mr. Terry and I are supposed to meet next week, I believe, and talk about that. We'll meet down at the park, and then he'll come up with some designs. And I know when that happened, that several people reached out about donations for a memorial and things like that. So we'll take that design, and then we'll see if we can't get some community involvement and get everybody to help make that happen, and then make it a big event when we do that. So I think that'll be really good. Okay, that's it.
I do have some questions. We're going back to the crosswalks and the lighting. You said with Duke Energy, we're maxed out on the lighting?
Yeah.
Because it seems like on the side of Bulldog Quick Snack, there's more lighting than there is on the side where Professional Pharmacy is.
There is, yeah.
And think that could have been a factor
Yeah.
in the fatality, because from what I understand, speed wasn't.
Yeah, that's where we would propose to put the decorative lighting, because those poles are AT&T poles. We don't actually have power we can pull off of those. And we have the brightest ones that we can get on the poles on the other side.
So when you say decorative light, I mean tall lighting, like
Like the ones that Gardner Webb has along the sidewalk out
Okay.
here, it'd be ones like that we propose to put over there.
Yeah, we need lighting over there, especially if there are people walking, and I don't know how many people walk at night, but, I don't think she even seen the car. So I think we need to really consider that, if the budget will allow, try to get the decorative lighting. And I don't know about crosswalks. Where do we have the crosswalks now?
Right
There's
up
one at
at O'Reilly's.
yeah.
And then at the stoplight.
That's the only two we have.
We got one down at the
And then
finish.
going down this way, yeah, but on that way.
Right on Main Street.
Well, you got one at the Gardner Webb building,
Yeah.
and they have one on the other side where the Webb building is.
Yeah, on North Main,
Okay.
it's just the O'Reillys and the stoplight.
Yeah.
Okay. I knew there were Riley's, and there's, of course, the stoplight, yeah.
Crosswalks are good when people use them.
Yeah.
That's the issue. Very few people, I think Chief probably would verify this, and I know from an incident that happened to my family, very few people get out of their car on the other side and go to the crosswalk to come across the street to the Campus Pizzeria or their snack shop. They get out of their car, they cross the road. I think that's probably true 95% of the time. Would you agree with that, Chief? I agree. So, and I don't know what you do about that, except promote public safety.
And I think the bigger solution is, redoing that North Main Street corridor.
Yeah, and I agree, narrowing the street
But that's-
promotes slower traffic. I mean, that's
Yeah.
a fact. And we tend to want to do the other. We tend to want to make them wider.
Yeah. Okay.
Mr. Edwards?
Yeah, I will start with Section 114 on the solicitor's ordinance that we passed in January. I had some feedback from concerned citizens that while the intent is there may be some legality on comma placement and intent of the section. So it was around, I got it pulled up here. On the paragraph about it shall be unlawful for any person to ask, beg, or solicit alms or contributions or exhibit oneself for the purpose of begging or soliciting alms or contributions, comma, is where the recommendation is, by accosting another or forcing oneself upon the company of another. So I guess my request would be that, Justin and Mr. Swept, we check out any, potential case law or get some advice from neighboring communities that have the same ordinance and see what their recommendation is on making this legal and that we don't get ourselves in trouble because of a comma. So the other item I had was what Justin was alluding to was the US DOT has a Safe Streets for All program, and I think it was in Q3, so like September, October, Justin and I worked with a consultant to fill out an application for this grant, and we were awarded $160,000 towards hiring a consultant for a study for Safe Streets for All. It's very unfortunate timing of the current situations, but the idea is that these funds would be used for selection of and hiring a consultant to go out and not just, vehicular traffic, but pedestrian, cyclists, anybody else that uses our streets. And it's not necessarily just street signs and lighting either, right? It's features and the physical assets, how they're constructed and what encourages people where to go cross. It even looks at, we can even ask the consultant to make sure that we're ADA compliant on sidewalks and all that stuff too. So, we were very excited to get that grant. $160,000 will go a long ways with a good consultant for our town size. And I have to defer to Justin, but I think if there's some funds left, we might be able to use them towards the projects that their consultants recommend and we accept. So it's a step in the right direction to understanding how pedestrians are crossing, how we can encourage people to use the crosswalk instead of just having wide streets and feeling comfortable because the traffic volumes appears low enough. So that's all I got.
Can we enforce them to use the crosswalks? If they don't use the crosswalk, like a big college, you gotta push the little button before you can walk across. Are we getting that sophisticated, or are you talking about just a regular crosswalk?
See, I think that's where hiring the consultant will tap their expertise on legal tips and tricks that they've implemented at other cities to encourage the use of those features. And then it comes down to like, it's the speeding scenario all over again, right? You can put speeding signs all over the place. People are still going to speed, and it becomes an enforcement issue. So.
Yeah, but
it just depends on what precedent and how we want to hold people accountable in the end.
Yeah, because if we put the crosswalks up, we want the people to use them.
Right.
And with it being a small town and what's happened, I think it's opened everybody's eyes.
Yeah. So, yeah, this grant was good timing, so we can tap into the experience of consultants who do this everywhere and can give us some good recommendations on how we can encourage those changes.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Thank you for your work on that, Mr. Edwards.
And a plan like that is going to, if I can, sir, it's going to look at little changes and big changes. So it might say that we need a roundabout at a certain intersection, but it's also going to say, well, you could apply, paint markings on certain areas of certain streets to help make it more visible where people cross and help slow traffic down. So it'll have little incremental changes, but then it'll also have, big broad changes too. So.
Very good. Ms. Gann, anything else?
Well, and two, maybe some additional, maybe like a flashing light or something to signal these cars that there's a crosswalk. Like if the button's pushed and the person's walking across, the oncoming traffic will see it. Because
two out of
car
the
didn't even
four.
slow down.
2 out of the 4 crosswalks we have right now do have those flashing lights, but the one on West College and South Main do not. The one at O'Reilly's and at Vintage Dog does have flashing lights when the button's pressed.
Yeah, so if and citizens need to think about that. I mean, we're doing it for the safety of our citizens, and that get the attention of somebody driving that might otherwise be texting or just not paying attention to what they're doing. Maybe the flashing light would get their attention. We've got to do something, and I did not realize how dark it is along my drugstore there at Professional Pharmacy. So, yeah, that's all I have.
All right, thank you. Mr. Green?
Couple of things, and one thought I had there, if and when the widening project begins, we could encourage them to start on this end.
That's right.
They'd get to our situations sooner.
It is listed as a Boiling Springs project.
It is,
even though it goes all the way to
and that's where it's publicized, so that's just a thought I had. And that would speed them up to our concerns quicker. The other thing, I'd like to thank Councilman Litton for attending the MPO meeting once again. I think it's very valuable to have someone, a backup, so that we don't lose our continuity. If we missed 2 meetings, we can't vote the next meeting. So I think, and he's been very gracious and been a contributing member of that board. So I appreciate him stepping up. I won't tell him why I didn't miss. I won't tell him that I was on a cruise St. Martin, but appreciate him doing that, and appreciate the work that the staff does and the councilman on these grants. You know, that's something that we've see the value in, and I know it's time consuming and takes a lot of effort, and I think we just have to keep doing it and doing it till they get tired of seeing ours and say, if we don't approve this one, they're going to submit it again next year. So I think that's to be commended for that, and appreciate Councilman Edwards stepping in and helping out. So, and they've already left, but I just wanted to welcome the new, well, one is still here, the new staff. And I've always known, living in town, how valuable the staff and the employees of the town were, but after sitting on the council, it's even more aware, became more aware of the job that they do and how they do it. And so I think they're to be commended for that. And I hope you guys will will let the guys know that we appreciate what they do. I hear compliments on them very often. So, that's it.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Litton?
As Councilman Green mentioned, I was able to attend the MPO meeting, and of course, we did have an item on there in the RAISE grant, and it did receive support from the MPO, so that moves forward to the next step. We did have a fatality several years ago up near Bojangles, and that's the reason that we put the crosswalk where we did. I walk in town a good bit too, on the north end, all the way to the stoplight, and sometimes all the way to the other side of Gordon Webb, but crossing there is very hazardous, and that's why we put, as some people have asked, well, why'd you put it at O'Reilly? Well, that's the safest place to put it. Plus, their sidewalk goes down Green Bethel that can take you to Ingalls. You know, it might be a little bit out of the way, but it's a safer way. So we're trying to make efforts as best we can. I appreciate the other council members and their work and their comments. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right, thank you to council for really good discussion. Once again, thank you to the staff for your excellence and professionalism. Thank you, Mr. Evans, for updating us and all the good things that Garden Web are doing. Thank you for coming out and speaking your voice and helping us make this town as good as we can make it. My daughter got her license this morning, so I have a 16-year-old, and so I share your concerns for sure. She's a better driver than probably most of us, honestly. Thank you all for coming out. I might just filibuster for a while. Do you have anything? Do you have anything going on tonight?
You said 20 minutes. You said you got 20 minutes.
No big deal. Happy anniversary, Mr. Longino. All right, meeting is adjourned. I've never done that before.
You broke the hell out of it.
I did.
How many kids do you have?
I think Gardner Webb already has
Well, you're master.
EV
so
charges.
She's your youngest.
She is my middle child.
She's your middle child, okay.
My youngest one's
Well, Sam, has already got his license. It's scary when the first one.
Oh, yeah.
Well, it was for me. I only have one, so you probably feel a little more comfortable.